meeting of the Water, Sewer, Engineering, and Environment Committee. And thank you all for coming. A special welcome to all our visitors and residents who have come here. And I'm going to read the statement from the top of the agenda. Reminder to all present, this committee, and indeed all Town of Niskayuna committees and meetings, will follow the town's code of conduct for public meetings. A copy of the town's code of conduct is there at the table. Janet, thank you for putting it up there. Public comments are welcome at the end of the regular meeting agenda. It's a two-page meeting agenda, so if you turn to the second page, you will see the public comments at the end. I will be here until everyone is heard, and I will, be here until everyone's heard. So number one item, approval of minutes, committee minutes from July 7th, 2026. Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Attorney's items, 1020 Merlin fence in easement.
This is a potential easement agreement. We had a resident submit an application to install a fence around their backyard. They have a pool back there, and we do have a sewer main and storm drainage through that. And so it's just starting. I'll say possible easement agreement. We're going to work with them to see if they're willing to move their application for the fence outside of the easement, which will make it a lot easier for all of us. So this is a possible, and I can coordinate with Elena on this one.
Thank you, Daniel. Moving on to item 3, engineering. The position is still open, and as far as I know, we haven't received candidates that we feel are well qualified for the position. Is that still the situation, Daniel?
Yes, that's still a situation. We have an open position. We're advertising and have not received enough applicants or qualified applicants to be able to interview.
Okay, so we will move on to item 4, water and sewer maintenance and sewer pump stations. You want to hand over the microphone?
As far as water breaks, we've had 4 water breaks this month, and meters, we've changed out about 23, 11 of them, which were meter bodies. We'll be working on broken valves. We finished up our blacktop. Most of our blacktop maintenance is all done, so, and landscaping. So we'll start working on valves and doing valve inserts for the next month or so. Yep.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Moving on. Did you do item 4A, or is that for all of item 4?
He did 4A.
I did.
Okay. Okay. All right. 4B is next.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just to give you guys an update, I did talk to Pierce Equipment in Jersey there in regards to our vac truck. They do anticipate on receiving the parts Wednesday or Thursday of this week. So maybe by the end of the week, if not, beginning of next week, our truck will be finished and repaired. Kevin just updated me. We had the computer go down on our camera truck as well. That's been shipped to Florida for repairs. He just got the estimate back, and I need to discuss with Dan yet in regards to the quote. So having both trucks down kind of gave us a little break to do some PM. We've been upgrading the control panel at Fieldstone Pump Station, just basically rewiring, numbering wires that didn't have numbers on it to be able to trace, at a later date when there's an issue. Just some other minor things to it. We've been exercising our portable generators still at our pump stations that don't have generators. We're buttoning up with highway as far as paving. We got all our rebuilds complete, and we're just basically waiting for the trucks to come to put the blacktop down and coordinate with highway when we can install our risers. And like I said, PM work wise, the pump station at Balltown South was in need of repair, the gazebo. So we made some minor repairs, bought some lattice, painted it. And that was after we completed the control panel as well there and upgrades. Seal coating a couple pump stations that were needed to help prevent the blacktop from deteriorating anymore. And and also, as we get caught up, I do have a list of manholes that I've been basically on a back burner, but being so busy with things of that nature, taking care of the pump stations, finally got a little time to just go back and do some rebuilds on them. And that's about it for right now.
Just a clarification for everyone present. PM means preventative maintenance,
Correct.
right? And just as a information for people who may not know, the vac truck can like go in and it can actually be used to test the status of the lateral lines, right?
Yeah, when we use it in sewer,
Okay.
it's used to wash and cut roots that are in the sewer mains themselves.
Okay.
And then any debris or roots that come back, we're capable of vacuuming it up
Okay.
so it doesn't go down further in the main and cause an issue downstream, if you will.
Thank you. And we have been sharing the vacuum truck that the highway department has in the meantime while ours is getting repaired, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I'll just take this opportunity to thank our colleagues from the highway department. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to helmets.
Tony, you want to take this one, the new Husqvarna helmets?
It's in, they're using it now. We got them after Dylan.
So we've got 2 of them right now.
We have 2 of them, yeah. I think.
So
we're-
there was a discussion about buying one for everybody. Aaron wanted to have that discussion about potentially sharing them, treating them with Lysol, whatever, because they are so expensive. And for a while we were turning over crew. So I think potentially maybe we just need to have an internal conversation to justify spending $250 on 20 helmets or whatever. Maybe bring in the unions, Dan and Ashok and you guys, and we'll just figure out, her thought process was, is there a way that we could share them? I definitely don't want to go without a safety helmet after
Yeah.
what you guys went through, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
So it's just a thing about, finding the money, making sure we can justify it and seeing what our options are. So if we could do that internally by the end of this week, beginning of next week,
Yeah.
that'd be great. How long did it take you to get the helmet? It was
Couple
quick,
days,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So they do have 2 of them, but I mean, I personally would love to have the money to buy everybody a helmet like that, because it could have made a difference,
Yeah.
Okay. We'll move on to item 4D.
Excuse me, can you turn off the microphones, because we cannot hear what's going on at the table?
Is there anybody from the AV who can turn up the microphone?
Kevin probably went upstairs.
Or if you could just move the microphones towards your mouth.
Did you hear me? Because I had it right in front of me. Did I not speak loud enough? Okay, I'm sorry. Is this better?
Okay.
So there was a brief discussion about Husqvarna helmets and safety for our water and safety crew. And the thought process is as opposed to buying new helmets for everybody, the town would like to consider whether we can disinfect them in between uses. So we will be having an internal discussion with the head of the safety committee, the department head, Ashok, the water and sewer gentleman, and the unions, and Aaron.
Thank you, Janet. Let's move on to item 4D.
So we still have an open position on the water and sewer crews. And right now we don't have any candidates that have applied on that one. So it'll remain open. Item 4E, River Road water, it should be water main, not water meter. The River Road, we do have the preliminary design for that water main, which is between the General Electric Circle on River Road and Blatnick Park. We've got some comments back from the engineer, a few questions that he had that Tony and I are going to go over, and then we'll be ready to finalize the plans and get them submitted to the Department of Health for review. After that, we'll be able to go out to bid for that one. And so we'll need to get all the financing in order to be able to go out for bid. And I know that there's been discussions with receiving some grant financing for that to assist in that water main. The preliminary estimate is $1.3 million from the engineer. And the current grant commitment was $1 million. We won't know the actual cost until we actually bid it. And so it is likely that it'll be more than $1.3 million just with the cost of pricing and escalation since the estimate. And so just be anticipated for that. And we can figure out how to adequately have enough money ready for when the bids do come in.
Yeah, can you just indicate the timeline for that?
Timeline, it's August now. By the end of August, we could have it submitted to the Department of Health for review. That could be a month or so review from them. And then we could go out to bid in fall, and then that could be winter work. It could be winter work.
Okay, moving on, the River Road water meter and the Rosendale Road water meter.
So we just talked about the River Road water main, and the next one is Rosendale Road water main. That is currently out for RFPs from engineering firms to design that. And this is in conjunction with the county's project on Rosendale Road between Mohawk Road and the Lishakill. They plan to raise the elevation of that road approximately 5 to 7 feet to be more resistant to any flooding. And so with that project, we would be looking to replace our water main that's right in that area so that once the project's completed, our water main isn't 10 feet below underground, which is extremely difficult to be able to work on. And so their plan is next summer, 2027, to do construction. And our plan is to do our construction at the same time and coordinate with the county. I just talked to Josh Hawley yesterday, and they're on target with that. Planning on doing the road construction in-house on their end. And so it's a unique way of doing this right now. The water main, where the new water main is going to be located, is actually above the current location of the road right now. So it would be floating. And so there's no way that we could install it before their project. And so that's why it'll be done in tandem at the same time as their project.
I can provide some additional background on this project as well. This is like one instance where global climate change impacts us, and 100-year floods don't happen every 100 years anymore. They happen more frequently. And that is why the county made the decision to raise the level of the road. And one of our main water mains is underneath that road. So if we don't take that opportunity to replace those water mains when the county is excavating anyway, then they build a much higher road, and in the future, if it breaks, then we have to dig through like much higher depth to get to our water mains, and that's just going to be prohibitively expensive. So this thing needs to be done, and like Daniel said, like we are going out to bid and trying to get contracts and such.
And Ashok, we met with Josh recently. It's important to note with this that the raising of the road is in part the flooding risk. It's considered an evacuation route for
Okay.
the town, and thus the priority.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Moving on to utility billing. As everyone knows, we moved to the RTS model, the readiness to serve model, starting on July 1st. A key factor in people's bills is going to be their water meter size. And I put item 5A in there because I got a question from a nonprofit who currently have a 1-inch meter, but they don't use a lot of water, and they would very much like to go to a 5/8 inch meter. So apparently you can have some kind of system where you pinch it and then pinch it on the other end and then just replace the meter in the middle. Tony, I'm not sure if I'm explaining it.
Reduce the pipe,
yeah.
reduce the pipe size.
Yeah. So in that case, what is the procedure? Do they need to purchase a 5/8 inch meter? What is the town's involvement? We can have a quick discussion right now regarding that, and maybe we can formulate the actual policy by bouncing off emails and collaborating further. Anybody had any thoughts?
Well, I think we'd start with a building permit application for plumbing, interior plumbing permit. And with that, they would purchase the new meter from us. They'd purchase the new meter from us. The rates are on the permit, and they'd have a plumber there, just a regular internal plumbing permit. Right?
Sounds about
And
right.
we'd get the information back and we'd put it in our records on the billing on Chris's end. So I don't think it would be much different than any internal plumbing permit.
Typically, how much time does it take to get the permit once somebody submits an application?
Well, we have to coordinate with the water and sewer department on these ones, but usually like 2 weeks.
Thank you. Thanks for the discussion. I think there's enough to go on to get the ball rolling, and I can speak to the nonprofit that approached me. Okay, items 5A, 5B, and C are routine stuff, so I'll let Dan take over.
So routine, the reconciliation after we receive the funds come in from the billing for the first quarter corporate reconciliation 5B. We receive that reconciliation, and which is the accounting for all that. And Chris Lashinsky does that work on a spreadsheet and just submitted that to me. And then the warrant is before we put out a bill, we have to go through a resolution with the warrant of here's the meter reads and here's what the bills are going to be. And so those are both submitted to me and have them ready for review so that they can be on for resolution at the board meeting at the end of the month.
Can someone hand me that handheld microphone that's in front of Roger so that we don't have to switch back and forth?
You want to be the rock star?
There you go.
So you can have that. Okay, moving on. Item 5D, Wallace Road Sewer Reimbursement Request.
So this has come up a few times. There's 3 residents on Wallace Road that their homes are actually in a colony. We receive their sewage. It flows through our system for a little bit and then goes back into colony. They have since 2016, we've been billing them for the sewage, and they're requesting reimbursement for that, for those fees, since the flows ultimately end up at the Colony, into Colony's system and their treatment works.
So do we have a timeline, Daniel? Like, as you said, like this has been on the agenda for a long time. Like, have we made a firm decision one way or the other?
I think that's a discussion that me, you, and Aaron ought to have on that one.
Okay.
Janet,
Okay,
how we
let's
want to approach that.
let's find some time to meet and like make the decision on this. Okay, let's move on to item 5E, fall bills, add lead and copper inventory.
So October is the next time we're going to be sending out the fall water bills. As a part of the lead and copper inventory program, we're required to notify the residents now of their water service material, whether it's if it is lead or galvanized or unknown. And for efficiency, in the past, we've sent out a flyer that we're required to notify all the residents. That's a part of the program now. That's a newer requirement. We're required to do that. For efficiency, we thought that we could since we're sending out mailer to each resident anyway with their water bill, by adding that information of their water service onto that would eliminate another mailing that we've got to do to have more efficiency in our program. And so our target is to be able to get that information onto the water bills for the October billing cycle.
So quick clarification, Daniel. So when you say an additional, document will be in the bill envelope, would that be specific to the homeowner, or is it a general?
It would be specific to the homeowner. We'd be looking to put that in the notes of the water meter bill. And so it'd be specific to that address. We're required to notify each resident of their address, what the material is, if it's those three options.
Okay.
So it'd be customizing that for each address. We'd have to enter that. We've got the data in our spreadsheet that we've been collecting, and so getting into each bill, and we have 8,000 bills, and so getting into each of those and identifying, lining that up with the material that's been identified through our research.
And maybe we can include an FAQ document about what the lead and copper rule is and what steps the homeowner can take to resolve the situation if their service line is unknown, galvanized, etc. Because I feel that without additional context, if people see lead, they may be alarmed.
And they would have received notification this past year. So these are all residents that have previously received notifications.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to item 5F, QR code for appointment.
So last month we had the discussion of how can we assist in getting these appointments to be able to get water meters installed, and Aaron suggested using a QR code system with automatic meter appointment scheduling. We've trialed it out for a couple weeks, and it seemed to trial really well. We just updated the QR code on that, and so we'll be looking to start running with that one and getting these appointments set up a little bit easier for us. It takes a lot of time on Chris's end, setting up these appointments in addition to the other tasks she's working on, and so any efficiency will help out, and so automating the scheduling should help out significantly.
Can that live somewhere publicly too, like pushed out through the app and live on the website so that people, there's kind of a common.
So this is, we're targeting specific residents. So this isn't all 8,000 residences. This is the ones where we need to access in the order of 500 residents where there's for some reason we're not quite getting the reading back, whether the battery's dead on the transmitter or if the meter has stopped for some reason or malfunctioned or any other component. And so we're targeting these ones that we're currently not able to get read.
And moving on to item 5G, Neptune 360.
Neptune 360. So this is the evolution of the software that we use for reading the water meters. This is the next. Neptune is the water meter brand that we use in the system for reading, and their current software is sunsetting, and so they're no longer supporting it. And so this is the upgraded version of the software. And we just barely read the meters in July. And so now is the window to be able to do this upgrade. So it's ready for the next reading when we do that. And anytime we do, any type of upgrade like this, there's always a couple hiccups. And so trying to work those all out before the time when we have to actually get the water meters read. And so now's the window. Tony, Chris, we'll work with Ty Sales, our meter rep, to be able to get everything upgraded and ready for the next water meter read.
Thank you for that update, Daniel. I'm going to pass on the microphone to Roger for item 6A, update from wastewater treatment plant operator.
So down at the wastewater plant, these aren't updates, just more continuations of good news. Our dryer has been running consistently. We had one little hiccup, reset it, but so far no more problems.
So this is delightful news. So I want more details so that I can play this moment back again in my head as the day progresses. So if you'll indulge me a little bit, Roger, is it running continuously anytime we want it?
We are running about 2 loads a day, sometimes 3 if we can start as soon as we get there.
Okay. And when you say you get there, that's like 7 a.m., right?
It's 6:30.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweetness. I never thought a sludge dryer could give me this much happiness. So do you have, can you see the output from the dryer being like less heavy and less chunky?
Significantly, yes.
Oh, great.
On top of that, good news, we've been running our GBT, gravity belt thickener.
Okay.
We're taking the sludge out of the digester,
Okay.
dewatering it, sending it back.
And, just for the rest of the committee, can you remind us, for how long the GBT has been not working properly?
It was down for well over a year.
It was down for well over a year. I want to remind everyone that our wastewater treatment plant is the town's most expensive asset. And it was envisioned with grand plans to be a strong revenue positive for the town. And we are slowly but steadily moving in that direction.
Sorry, GBD one more time is,
GBT.
Yeah.
It's a gravity belt thickener.
got it.
Since we've been running that, I've noticed a significant decrease in the amount of sludge we're producing
Okay.
that we need to process to put out. We're taking water out, so it's saving
Excellent.
us volume.
And that also means we give less money to Colony.
Correct.
Right. I mean, I like Colony, right? They got a good movie theater and all, but I'd like to hold on to our money.
How many loads? So in the past, without the sludge dryer running, you're probably taking out 6 loads a week,
Yeah, 4 to 6 loads a week.
4 to 6 loads
I
a
think
week
maybe we've
of
been
large 10-yard containers.
Yes. Now I would estimate about 2 dumpsters a week, 2 to 4. It's gone down significantly.
The weight of the dumpsters significantly less with the dried sludge?
It's about the same. It's not all dried. We have to mix
Right.
it with dewatered and dried sludge. But no, the amount of containers we're sending out has gone down.
And to give an idea of how much that costs to haul out, we're spending $1,500 or so
I believe
per
so.
container.
I don't have the numbers on the top of my
It
head.
ranges there. It's going to range between how full the container is and
Yeah.
and
Well, how heavy it is.
how
Yeah.
heavy it is how much we pay. And so
Mhm.
the more water that we remove from it,
Yeah,
the
more cost effective.
the more cost effective. It's expensive to haul water.
Mhm.
And so that's what the sludge dryer does. And so, with $1,500 roughly per container, and if we went from let's say four containers a week to 2 containers a week, that's $3,000 a week.
Yeah.
Significant,
Yeah. That's
significant.
a healthy amount to save. We also, the digester boilers are still running off the biogas.
Excellent, excellent.
They're in the middle of repair, kind of. We're waiting on parts to come in for our
Okay.
technician to come in and repair that. Earlier this month, we removed a Muffin Monster. That's a brand name. It's essentially a grinder that chews up anything coming down the line. We're trying to remove more rags, and if we can keep them bigger, we have an auger, like a screw conveyor, to pull them out. It's easy for the screw when they're bigger. So we removed that. And we had a contractor come in. We had a hole in the auger. We patched that. We're removing a lot more rags out of that screen right now. And so that's going to be better down the road. It's going to save us from having to derag pumps, pull them apart, fix them, or other wear and tear that might happen to the pumps.
And just on that primary screen, we have 2 older primary screens. We put an expensive Band-Aid on it essentially,
Yeah.
to keep it going for us. That is the primary screen is a piece of equipment that we'd be looking for a capital improvement in the upcoming years for a major piece of equipment.
It's working now, but we need
it's working
a
now.
solution long term.
And looking to now's the time to start planning rather than when it's completely down. A new screen would, just for fabrication is going to be, 6 to 9 months. And so that's, so just planning for next.
Okay, there's one other little update. We had a macerator, another cutting machine for the sludge in the digesters. That's been down for a little while. We had a contractor come in, he put everything back together, and when he reinstalled the motor, we realized the motor was seized up. So now we have to look into replacing that motor. So a little bit of progress, but we still have some work to do.
Okay, I will add here as a reminder of something that I had already said in previous meetings. Flushable wipes are not flushable. So when Roger's talking about Muffin Monsters and augers, that's the stuff that we need to catch. It's the waste water treatment plant. It treats water. But if like random pieces of wipes and such make it past it, then it makes the whole process incredibly hard. Is it all,
Yep,
Roger?
that was all of my updates.
Very quickly, the flare and the UV system, are they working
The
okay?
UV system is working well. Actually, later this week, we're having Trojan, the company. Well, Kester is the company that takes care of the UV system. They're going to come down on Thursday, and we're going to have a day of training down there. So everybody's going to be on board. We're all going to learn a lot more about the UV system. But as far as disinfecting, killing all the bugs we don't want to go out to the river, we're doing pretty well that way.
Okay. And
The-
Roger, for the benefit of everyone present, could you give like a 1-minute summary of UV versus chlorine and why we are not using the chlorine system?
What UV does is it has these bulbs underwater that produce UV light. And what UV light does to all the bacteria and everything going through, it scrambles up their DNA a little bit so they can't reproduce. Doesn't actually kill them, but they can't reproduce. So you don't have to worry about them downstream. Chlorine, depending on how it's dosed, could be a liquid or gas. That just gets dripped in and has time to kill all the bugs, actually kill all the bugs. And then you have to add another chemical to take the chlorine out of the water so that doesn't go to the river. And then you essentially get the same effect downstream. I'm not sure why we decided to go with UV initially.
Okay.
I wasn't here on that decision, but,
Okay. Thank you, Roger.
but those are the differences.
The question came up from a resident about the differences between those, and
Okay.
that's why I asked. Okay. Can we move on to item 6B?
Sure, I'm done.
Okay.
So we are currently interviewing for the chief operator position. We've got applications in, and so we'll be proceeding with the interviews and potentially a recommendation by the end of the month for the chief operator position. Item 6C is security gate installation. We've been, the gate at the wastewater plant has been, we've been working with it the last couple of years. It's been in pretty rough shape. And so we are, just as we've replaced the gates at the water plant and the towers, an automated system to be able to have cameras on there to know who's going in and out of the facilities. The wastewater plant is additionally, we're upgrading the security on that one. We regularly get we regularly get notifications from EPA, other federal agencies and state agencies regarding terrorism threats. And this is one way to have a robust security system of our vital utilities.
You can move on to the next one.
Roger already mentioned the macerator motor. We're working on getting pricing for that. It's possible that it will be above the threshold so that we will need a resolution. So I put tentative resolution on that. We're working on getting pricing for that. Fund balance request, capital outlay. There's a few projects that we've identified that we're going to get a group of projects together and put in a request for the fund balance items. And so I'll be getting that together and making that request, Janet, on that.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm going to go a little bit out of sequence now, and I'm going to move on to item 9, environmental, and then we'll come back to item 7. So there is no item 8. So I'll start with frequently the environmental bit gets shoved to the end of the meeting when everyone is very tired. This committee is officially called Water, Sewer, Engineering, and the Environment Committee. So I will start actually with item 9B and explain what it is. So before I took my seat on the town board, I was a member of the Comprehensive Planning Committee. And as part of the comprehensive planning purposes, we surveyed the residents. It's a pretty extensive survey that the Comprehensive Plan Committee discussed and evaluated, and the survey went out to the public. And it had many questions, but question 21 asked something like, what would you like preserved and maintained and enhanced in Niskayuna? Not the exact words, but something along those lines. And it was an open-ended question, not one of those checkbox questions. And despite it being an open-ended question with different people talking about different things, the thing that most residents said by a big majority of what they want preserved in Niskayuna is green space and trees. And as the town approaches full build, and we need to be extra careful about green space preservation. And the issue also came up repeatedly during the election campaign when I was knocking on doors. People were always asking me about why is every single bit of green space disappearing? And I think part of the issue is the public do not know how these things work. When the bulldozers move in and when the forest is getting cleared, that's often the first indication for many people that the green space is going. And by the time, of course, it is too late. The town of Bethlehem and the town of Clifton Park have funds in place that they use to acquire green space when it comes to the market from willing sellers, etc. Now, of course, economic development is necessary. We cannot preserve every single square inch of green space. I get it. But it's also a good idea to have some funding available to preserve green space that everyone considers is really beautiful, good for the town, has public access, wildlife connectivity, and so on. And I say this repeatedly, having access to green space and living close to green space is essential. That's not me saying, that's doctors saying. Meaning if you don't have access to green space, then you start getting sick more. And green space also increases property values. It's not for nothing that if you live in a place like Manhattan, the closer you get to Central Park, the property values start going up really high. And there are other towns that I will not name in a public meeting where all of their green space was taken away, and then everyone's property value starts going down after a few years have passed, and the town starts losing its soul and fundamental character. So Bethlehem has something to do with the mortgage tax. I don't have my ducks in order on that one. And the town of Clifton Park has, they do something with the parkland set-aside fund. So when a property comes up to the market, the town almost has something like a right of first refusal. And a lot of landowners actually like to see their land stay as forested land. A lot of farmers like to see their farms continued. So we will start discussing this. I've discussed this with the supervisor briefly, and we will move forward towards at least attempting to start one of these funds for Niskayuna. So I put it on the agenda, and it will be a recurring item on the agenda so that we can have updates and such. Laura, do you have anything to add on that?
No, but just a clarification, Bethlehem's is through their mortgage tax. Yeah.
Thank you. And, there are hurdles to cross. There will be public hearings and ways to get public input. But I feel that this is something that the public wants, and we should be honoring the public's interest. Then we'll quickly move on to item 9A. We are revisiting the town's noise code. A lot of it is really outdated. There is one memorable section that mentions farm animals, going back to a town when we actually had farm animals. So that even other municipalities, including the city of Schenectady, have updated to the present noise codes. So we will be working on that as well. Laura, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, the impetus was the electric leaf blowers,
Yes.
which we've got all the language in there, and we were discussing it at the agenda meeting, and I know there were a lot of questions and we kind of had to cut the discussion short because of the special meeting that was coming forward. But I guess if anybody from the town board wants to just send a list of the questions that they want worked on, because it's kind of been circulating. And I know the two people sitting here kind of have been involved with it from the beginning, so I get it. But if we, if there's still questions that need to be answered so that we could move it forward to public hearing, it would be helpful if the town board could send the CAC those questions so that we could get working on what more information was needed. We have reached out to other towns in Westchester who have adopted this code and none of them have regretted it. And it's been in effect in Long Island for years and years and years. So it's definitely a doable thing. I know one thing I heard was like, how would it work for the highway department? But I don't think the highway department has to jump right in. They are not subject to our code. So I think they can see how it's working and take it on piece by piece. I don't know if you guys use leaf blowers, but the same would be true of you guys. But I think it's ready. I guess I just need the questions that people have that are making it worry. So.
Sarah, do you want to add anything to that?
Just that I would say, I think it's important anytime we're talking about this in a public forum to indicate we're not eliminating the leaf blowers. This is simply making it a seasonable use and then providing more guardrails around the usage when we're not in a leaf dropping period.
Yes.
And that provisions were added subsequently that should there be an ice storm, a flood, any kind of natural situation where the highway superintendent would be able to indicate that they'd be permitted, for a certain period of time.
Thank you for the clarification, Sarah. And we are trying to find a compromise position that takes into account everyone's viewpoint. Item 9C, Girl Scout Troop 2292 did remarkable work, remarkable work mending the bridges on Fieldstone Estates Park. We surveyed it as part of the natural resources inventory, and it was like super challenging to access it. So I'm happy to report that this will be my first ceremonial resolution as board member. Me and Laura and her team and Sarah will get together to draft the resolution and have it in time for the end of August regular town board meeting.
Just make sure you invite the Girl Scouts soon.
I'll
It's on the calendar.
yeah, I'll coordinate with the Girl Scouts. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to item 7.
Okay. Water plant. We finished the second half of the lead and copper testing. We're required twice a year to do 60 samples in lead-based homes or homes from 83 to 86, which will fall off next year. So they'll all be lead homes next year, the end of next year.
So they're getting rid of the copper requirement?
Yes. So end of 2027 is still a lead and copper rule, but the requirement will be only lead.
Testing.
Well, it'll be lead and copper testing, but the required sites are only lead sites.
Got it.
And we have to verify the lead sites.
Yep.
So we got most of them back already this quarter. I think we got the last 5 back yesterday. Notification letters were sent out on the majority. The last will be done between today and tomorrow. And then we have to certify that we sent them to the DOH. Finalizing the plan with the lagoon cleanup with DEC and DOH. We're pretty close to a plan there. We rebuilt a valve at joint.
Josh, sorry to interrupt. Could you just briefly talk about the fluoride and give a little bit of background for the lagoons?
Sure. The lagoons haven't been officially cleaned, I guess, dredged or whatever you want to say it. We can't find any record of it ever being done. So we found some years ago when the filters on the plant backwashed into the lagoons. Some of the media, the stone, the sand and stuff like that washed down into lagoons. So the storage area for the lagoons where the backwash water comes is not as deep anymore. So we want to dig it down. It's probably, we're estimating about 4 foot filled in over the years. So we want to get back down to where it belongs. So the process would be with a contractor and an excavator, dig it out, take the material out. Part of the plan would be possibly dropping it at the wastewater plant, let it dry out, and then bring it to the landfill. We did send out samples of the material that's in the lagoon to a lab to see, there is a fluoride and iron and stuff that gets backwashed, and see what the levels are to see if they're an acceptable level to bring to the, I believe, Albany dump. So that's the part we're at right now, waiting for the samples to come back from Paste. Anything more with that? Okay. Okay. The joint pump station, that's where we get our water from the city. We had an issue with one of the pumps, the valves, and we had to have it rebuilt, and that's working good now. Redevelopment of the wells, we're still working on an RFP for that. The redevelopment of the wells is something that needs to be done about every 5 years. That just gives us more water to come out of our wells. They start to get built up with minerals and stuff like that.
Just kind of for flow rates. Like I said, about every 5 years we have to redevelop the wells. We have 5 wells running right now. 4, about five wells running right now. They silt in. It's like a filter. Any sort of an air filter is going to slowly get clogged up, with dust and particles, and become less efficient. And so we're finding that about every 5 years we need to redevelopment, clean out the filter, essentially the well screen and gravel packing and everything. And so as far as numbers, the last time we redeveloped the wells, I think 2021, we could get up to 2,000 gallons per minute.
Correct.
Out of the wells. Right now we're pulling about 600, 500, 600,
yeah, about
600 gallons per minute. And so, a quarter of the potential. Yes. And we make up the rest through purchasing water through Schenectady.
Correct.
And I will quickly add here that currently can correct me if I'm wrong, currently about 75% of our water is from the city of Schenectady.
Right now.
Yes, right now.
Water and sewer has been helping us hydro excavate, searching for the service lines that are lead. Quick breakdown. I think they've done 49 service lines. We found 23 that were out of that 49 were lead, 14 were copper, 9 were unknowns. Residents backed out the day of excavation. We still have 2 left on this list to excavate. And then as the list gets down, we're actually starting again Wednesday and the rest of the week going door to door and knocking on doors again to get another list for them to excavate. We don't want to get too far ahead because it takes, a couple of weeks before they can get out and do them. So once the list gets down, we'll go door to door again and work on that. So unfortunately, it's a continuous thing, but we're making headway on it.
So starting next year, 2027, we're going to be required to have 60 sites of known lead water service. And these water services are owned by the resident. They are not owned by the town.
Correct.
These are owned by the resident. Where are we at right now of known lead water services that the residents are willing to participate in the program, allow us to take the samples at their homes?
We're just at 60 right. Well, we're probably about 80. That includes the 83 to 86 houses, which will be off the
Those
list.
are gonna be removed, yeah.
Right. And DOH wants to actually have 120 sites. So what happens is if you have, and we've already ran across this round, we had a few people that were either away or they backed out for some reason. So you have 60 as a backup. So you can pick off that list also. So that we're shooting for the 120.
And so to be able to get that sample, just to quickly update, the water plant staff, they'll drop off a 1 liter bottle, approximately a 1 liter bottle to the resident's house the night before the sample's taken.
Right.
The water, they're asked to not use the water overnight in their home. And then the next morning, first thing, they're going to fill up the sample of water, cap it, and we'll pick it up from their house and we'll take it to a laboratory for testing. So we're required to do 60 of those twice a year.
Twice a year.
And so we do need resident participation. That's and that's a part of. We've had a couple residents. Hey, I would like to participate in the program, and we're grateful when residents want to participate in the program. And so the first step is verifying that the water service is made of lead, and that's where we're vacuuming down. We've got the crews helping out to vac down on their private water main. That this is their private property. The water service is theirs. It is not the town owned. And so we request to do that. And they have a permission slip that says, hey, we authorize you to dig down on our private water service. And then we'll get it and verify the material. It's either going to be lead or galvanized or copper or poly plastic. And from there, we'll move forward. And if they're willing to participate, we'll do the bottle drop twice a year and let them fill that up and take
Right.
that to the laboratory. And so that's where, and we've had instances we're required to hit that timeline twice a year, each of those. And if we don't hit that, there's a violation. And so we do take this very seriously, and there's hiccups along the way where, we'll drop off the bottle, and maybe the resident will forget to do it, or we'll do it improperly, or one of the forms isn't filled out
Correct.
properly. If everything isn't exactly perfect, the sample
It's
isn't
rejected. Right.
authorized.
Right.
And even if we do 60 or whatever, and one signature is missed or one time stamp is missed in the, in the delivery and everything, that's not a valid sample.
Right.
And so
So you need to raise awareness that we need homes. is what you're saying.
homes that meet the lead and copper rule tier 1 criteria.
And do they know that, or we know that?
So,
Or that's part of the process?
so that's a part of the process is verifying that it's a tier 1.
Mhm.
And we have a group that we believe many of the concentration is in Old Town.
Old Town.
That's where the older water services are. Lead was a common material used for water services in that area and in that time of installation. And so that's a majority of where we're finding is from that area. And so we've identified homes that we believe through our record searches are probably lead.
Right.
And that's where we're going up with the
concentrating
next
on,
step.
right.
Hey, we'll drop off, talk to the resident. Hey, we believe that you're probably, it's unknown right now because we haven't excavated on it, and it hasn't seen daylight in over 50, 70 years. And so we don't know, it's unknown. And so that's where we're asking and saying, hey, we would like to excavate over your private water service and
Right.
allow us to check it
Right.
and verify it. And if it is in fact lead, then we'll ask them if they'd like to participate in the
Right.
program.
And a majority of them people do participate, are gonna participate.
So when that additional communication goes out that you're going to double up to save the postage, is there an opportunity to ask for participation then? Can we invite?
Well, we have to
invite people?
we have to confirm their lead first before we can ask them.
Right. I'm just trying to think about.
But
I
that
hear what you're
form, that
saying.
form that we hand out is asking to confirm that they're
Right.
lead. So it is part of
The
it.
ones that have been confirmed lead, we reached out to all of those residents. The
Right.
ones that we've, I believe we reached out to each of those.
Yes.
The ones that are marked as unknown, those are the ones that we're, the ones that are marked lead that we know are lead, that's easy, low hanging fruit to ask those residents.
Correct.
That
But you
doesn't
need to,
require,
but what you're saying is you kind of need a bigger pool.
we need a bigger
We need a
pool
bigger
of
pool.
the unknowns.
And we certainly can push communication out from the town, but I wonder if it's an opportunity, since it's information about water that you're opening up and reading, if there's an additional piece that says, if yours is marked unknown, you have the opportunity to, you have the potential opportunity and reach them then. Because I think you're right. I think most
That's not a
people-
bad idea.
Yeah.
And I mean, have them reach out to the water and sewer garage and we'll check it.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
mean,
spending significant efforts.
I bet you are.
Talking to residents, trying to get them to participate. If they can come to us for these unknowns, that'd be great.
Right. Well, just with the lead and copper sample, we started beginning of July and we just finished up. So it took 3 to 4 weeks going door to door every day to either they missed a signature or they forgot the ball, like you said. So it's a whole month. And then there's a whole month in January or February when we do it again. So we lose 2 months a year just in lead and copper sampling.
So my known home is one of those things, unknown, but could be lead, something like that. And I was talking to some of my neighbors about potentially participating. I got the question about like, how invasive is this process? Like when they come with a vac truck and go into the lateral line, you know, if somebody has a beautiful lawn or wildflower meadows or whatever, like how much digging is involved? Like, can someone clarify that?
It's just like a 2x2 area. It's just a 2x2 area, just a small and 6 foot deep. We
2 foot by 2 foot and 6 foot.
generally, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, unless we really have to search for it, but it's not
And-
that invasive.
And the vac truck, does it need to come onto the lawn or can it stay at the street level?
Generally, it stays on the street. I mean, if we do cause ruts or anything like that, if we have to get, it just all depends on what the property is like, but yeah, we do have mats, yeah, if we have
Okay.
to use them, but
Yeah.
yeah, we haven't had anything that has been, you know, generally it's just a 2x2 area, we vac down and then we backfill it with sand.
Okay.
And then if it settles, we'll go back and topsoil it. That's what we've been doing, so.
Okay. And just to be clear, 2 foot by 2 foot.
Average,
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever need to park on the homeowner's driveway?
no.
So you'll need to be on the street.
Yeah, anything that's going to interrupt any of their gardens or anything like that, we don't do. So if it's in a sidewalk, if it's in a garden, if it's, you know, if it's in a driveway, they're staying unknown for now.
Okay. And how long does it take and how loud is it?
It's loud.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot louder than a leaf blower. All of them are different. Sometimes they'll find them, you know, within an hour, and sometimes it could be an hour and a half, 2 hours. You know, it
Okay.
depends. But
Okay,
the process is
that
an
ballpark
hour,
is helpful.
probably an hour on average.
Yeah.
You know,
Because people are familiar with your excavators and they have seen them all over the so
Yeah.
when I speak to them, like that's the image that comes to their mind. Like
yeah,
this is going to be a day-long dig up of my
No.
garden and lawn. So I can clarify
yeah. It's
those things
Yeah.
and try to get you
it's
some
not very invasive.
some volunteer. And about 2 hours max time frame is also very, very helpful.
Yeah. yeah.
Thank you. And somebody please correct me if I am wrong. If the homeowner has lead service lateral line, that doesn't necessarily mean they have lead in their drinking water. There is still the orthophosphate coating that keeps the lead inside and doesn't let it come into that. So I want to I want to be able to tell the homeowners that, if you get this, that there is no cause for immediate panic.
The last thing I believe I have is, I saw it on there, the emergency response plan update. We have an updated one. They're asking for in a new format now, so it just has to be redone, and a couple of additions to the plan. And I believe that's all.
Okay, so I will provide an update on item 7C. Can I have the microphone? Corrosion control study. We have the report from MJ Engineering. We intend to put the report on our website. Meanwhile, I have 2 paper copies of the report in my folder to anybody that wants it. And if more than 2 people want it, I'm happy to run upstairs, use our really good copy machine, and make copies for everyone. And the hard copies that we will be handing out are the entirety of the report. There are no redactions or blackouts or anything like that. In the report is a recommendation that we treat the water from our water treatment plant with caustic soda, also called sodium hydroxide. And we intend to follow through with that recommendation. However, you don't immediately start changing the water chemistry. You need to get permission from the state's Department of Health. We don't talk directly to the State Department of Health. We actually go through the County Department of Health, and there is some permitting involved. I'm not going to name any names in a public recorded meeting, but there are other municipalities that have similar issues, and they're adding caustic soda and then going through the permitting process. We are not unique in that. The problem was addressed by this, it was investigated properly with a corrosion control study, and the next step is to get an engineering report, an engineering quote for the system that will be used to inject the sodium hydroxide. And then we will need permitting from authorities. I'll also mention that the report in its entirety has already been shared with regulatory agencies. And it's been 2 weeks since we got the report. It will be shared openly and publicly in its entirety. And we have already started the process of next steps. I won't go into a lot of detail, but suffice to say that funding for implementation will not be an obstacle. With that, I will close the meeting, adjourn our department staff to their department meetings. I will invite anybody from the public to the table and provide feedback on the report or anything else. I've actually taken half a day of vacation from my day job. I do not need to report at Union College until 12:30 today, and I will not leave until the last person in the public is heard, and everything people want to bring forth are brought forth to the committee. Thank you very much, everyone.
Come on.
Hi, good morning. It's Joe Yekel. I'm just asking a question for clarification before the meeting officially breaks up and staff leave. If we've got questions to ask and they're gone, how are we going to get the answers rather than having to wait? Because my impression of these committee meetings, as we've been told over and over again, is that there can be resident participation, versus when we go to the town board meeting and you only get 3 minutes. So things have changed a little bit since I was here in June, where now public is commenting at the very end of this. And, there may be things that I want to talk over with the resident experts that are working on these different, work areas for the town. So I would rather not ask questions and then have you tell me that I can get back to you in a day or a week or a month.
A week or a month would be, an unacceptable time frame from a resident's point of view. However, I do respectfully ask that questions be addressed to me and use me as a conduit, as the elected official, as the face of the public, to channel concerns. And then I am happy to consult with the department folks. It won't take a week or a month. And and I say that from past experience, I have responded before that time frame. So, but it's a legitimate concern, and thank you for bringing it up. Okay, please. You're welcome to come to the table.
I'll unlock it. It's in the front, on the floor, in the box, and it's got my collection.
I think we should try to just leave everything from that meeting.
I have 2 copies. Would you like a copy?
Oh, are you going?
And then,
Okay.
Yeah.
yes,
I just-
they're interested.
I've been carrying it.
Yeah, no, I got you.
It's okay, it's okay. Wait, I'll move on
I
again.
have a doppelganger.
I got you.
Yeah. So you look
As long as I'm not here.
Mr. Eckel?
That's so sweet.
I'll never forget your coffee.
We live with that.
Joe, would you like a copy of the report?
Only if you have the extra. That's
Yeah,
fine. Otherwise, I can wait to pick it up online.
I have it right there, so you can have it. Anybody wish to go first? Please identify your name and then ask the question, please.
Okay, my name is Natalie Tiberio. I've lived in Niskuna for over 44 years. And I have a couple of questions. First, I thank you for clarifying some of the issues. There's been a lot of information that has been going via online, and I always like to hear from the source, so I'm glad that we have the results. I'm also encouraged that you mentioned that 25% of the water is from Niskuna and the rest comes from Schenectady.
Mr. Abida, just to be sure, that's the current situation. We have the potential to go to 50-50, and we were talking about well redevelopment. We would like to go to 50-50.
Well, the reason why I said that is because obviously the corrosion study, and it impacted individuals who had Niskuna water and certain kind of water lines. I own a property that I developed along with my husband. I have 15 families living in those units, and I want to provide them with correct information. From what I hear, the majority of the water for my property there comes from Schenectady, and it's newer construction. So that's also very helpful.
And Mr. Abida, again, to be clear and everything, the water, it's not like Schenectady water is
It's a
walled off
mixture.
from, it's blended.
Yes.
And where it gets blended, how it's get blended, who gets a mix of what,
Yes.
it's findable, but it's if
Yes.
if a specific address wants to know what blend they are getting,
Yes.
I think we can get that information.
Right. And I'll be seeking that so I can put it online so I can inform my residents.
And
Because
I'll also pass this to you, Ms. Tiberio. This is what
Is
I'm
it a map?
passing out. It's a map
Okay, great.
of extensive copper testing the town has done.
okay.
The
Very
green
good.
dots are the non-problematic ones. And you,
And
No, I just have a question on that one issue. Ashhoff, I was told that
like where I live, which is Fairlawn Parkway, that my water is more from Schenectady than from Niskayuna, and that other parts of the town have a higher percentage of just Niskayuna water. Is that accurate?
There is every there is blending going on, and I also know that some addresses that are very close to the pump station at Lock 7 Road is probably mostly, if not all, Niskayuna water. And if you live closer to the city of Schenectady, like I do in Old Niskayuna, it's mostly Schenectady water. And the other point to take into account here is right now it's only 25% of the town's water as a whole that's Niskayuna water. Right now, our wells have not been redeveloped for 10 years. They were done in 2021? Okay, so I stand corrected. So the wells we do have plans to redevelop the wells and bring that number up. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, there's just a couple of other things that I wanted to say and ask. Thank you for the map. This is going to be very helpful. I'll provide it to my residents, just to calm their fears. I do think when it's announced, if some of this information can also be included, just to calm the fears of most of the residents in the area. The other issue that I'd like to talk about is the green space and how it relates to your noise reduction and the blower, gas blower issue. I maintain 2 properties on my cul-de-sac that belong to the town, and it's considered green space. And one of the properties, actually, the town received from a homeowner who was trying to get approvals for a subdivision. I maintain those properties. I ride the mower. Anyone in my neighborhood can attest to that. I utilize my gas blower in order to make sure that the roads are clean. And I'm hoping that, and I really thank you for including the information that we are allowed to continue to use it, but it's going to be restricted times and seasons. So that's very good to know, because I was very concerned, because I don't mind maintaining these green spaces, but I do mind if the town is going to restrict my ability to complete the job, especially if the town is allowed to use those exact pieces of equipment. So in all fairness, I'm paying taxes. I don't mind maintaining the property, but allow me usage of the machines that I need in order to do a good job. And in relation to other properties and green spaces, I think it's a generally very good idea, but the town does not maintain them. I walk through the River Road Park daily. I'm missing my walk today to attend this meeting, and there are trees that are about to come down. And I notified the town in writing November of last year, and I provided photos. Okay, there are many trees. The trail is walked by students going to schools. They ride their bicycles. We have people walking their pets. We have children going through there during the summer season because there's camps going on. And I notified the town twice. The second time was when a tree fell down and it was right across the path. We have a lot of poplars that are rotting. And I just think it's a hazard. I enjoy nature. I enjoy going through the woods, and these are trails that are maintained somewhat by the town, but the trees are falling down, and there are multiple trees that are hanging on other trees that are lesser in size. Photos were taken and sent to Aaron, also the attorney, and then also it was shared with Ray. So I just think it's a hazard waiting to happen. And I do think that part of the problem of Niskiuna obtaining more land, you don't maintain a lot of the properties that you already own. And I can attest to that by walking through it and also maintaining 2 parcels that essentially belong to the town. So I just want to make mention of that.
That's a very fair point, Mr. Iberio. And, I mentioned the Fieldstone Estates Park. It's an official town park with an official trail. But before the Girl Scouts did their thing, the trails, some parts of it were very inaccessible.
Yeah.
You had to have very good health and very good skill in order to access the trail. So your point about like we should maintain the existing trails is well taken. And the Girl Scouts is one group on one bridge, right?
Mhm.
What about all the other trails? And a lot of our park system is not even known to many residents. Before the natural resources inventory, I did not know that Fieldstone Estates even existed as a park. So I would be, if you send me some email communications, I would be happy to follow up with our colleagues in Highway.
Yes, and I also asked Elena the last time I communicated with her, and this was after the tree fell, and I sent her photos. I said I would be happy to meet Ray there and actually point to the multiple trees that are visibly very dangerous, that are bordering the trails. So when they come down, they will come down on the trail and hopefully not on someone. Another thing that you mentioned, and I want to, obviously part of the record is that when properties with land come up on the market or people decide to sell, I'm very opposed to the town wanting first right of refusal. I know that's happening in New York City, but it's going communist. I'm not a communist. I'm a United States citizen, and I'm not accustomed to that. So if there are any properties that I want to sell, the township can bid just like the open market if they want access to the property. I'll be monitoring that because I do not want communism coming up here to the upstate New York area. And if we have to push back, we will push back because that, I've worked too hard. I've earned what I have, and so has my husband. Okay, so I understand communism is starting to spread, and that statement alarmed me when you mentioned that other municipalities would like in the state of New York is, wanting first right of refusal for properties coming on the market with land or whatever. That's crossing the line for me. So I just want to put it on record. And
I can clarify my remarks.
yeah, I think you should.
Remarks
you.
a little bit. It's not, I don't think, I can't speak for other municipalities, but I'm with you, Mr. Iberio. Like I would, I would go back to the bigger point about the residents' desire to preserve green space and how that overall at the end would be beneficial to everyone. So right now, in a theoretical context, if a certain landowner wants to preserve their space and doesn't want it developed and wants it to be green space, they would want it to be green space. I won't name any names, but there are landowners in Niskiuna who would fall under that category.
And that's fine. And it could be done through a deed restriction.
Yes.
Or a restrictive covenant. There are legal ways that if you own a property and you want to maintain, you do not want it subdivided, there are legal instruments that the homeowner can place prior to selling. I just don't want the communication to read that the town wants first right of refusal for a property going on the market before it does go on the market. Because in New York City right now, landlords who have multiple units, they want their sales to go through the city of New York first. New York wants first right of refusal for these properties that landlords own. And I just think that that's outrageous. And it is moving forward. I don't know if it's been approved, but when you mentioned that, it just signaled what's going on in New York City.
I'll again clarify. I believe, I don't know what I said like 45 minutes ago, but let the record state that like I'll scratch the right of first refusal from my statement. That was not where I was going.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're talking about is what we did last month, which we had a property that was a farm, and she had grown up with it as a farm. She wanted to preserve that part of it and so it was adopted by Nature Conservancy, and it's made part of the Leishakil. Her property and home were sold typically. So, given how built out we are, I don't think we have a ton of, I think those are going to be opportunities that we're going to have to seek out. I don't think there's going to be a lot.
Thank you, Councilwoman Belovsky. And I think other people have questions on the water thing, so.
That was it. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Actually, I would like to read a statement, with your permission, from Rob Curto, who couldn't be here today. Now, his statement, Ash Hawk, is predicated on the corrosion study, and it's predicated on the issue that the corrosion levels, and if there's any error in this, please correct me and the community, that the corrosion levels are 12 times what is acceptable and 6 times higher than the threshold reading for severe. And so based on that, the concern is that when you have corrosion levels that high, the water going through the pipes will be leaching copper and lead into the homeowner's water supply. So these are his comments regarding this issue. And he has them according to priorities. The first priority is to acknowledge that prior messaging led residents to believe that there was absolutely no quality issues with the water and that the water was safe, which it may be safe in certain parts of the town, but this sheds a different light on it. Residents deserve, as transparent communication, because all hands should be on deck, and you are doing this now by releasing the study. The second priority, he feels, is to identify and begin implementing the appropriate corrective actions immediately, because this is his field. He has a lot of experience in infrastructure. Public health and infrastructure protection must take precedence over cost or delay. The third priority he has is to develop a realistic long-term budget and implementation plan. If possible, have an initial cost estimate prepared before the next meeting, the water and sewer, and then aggressively pursue funding through bonding and available state and federal assistance. He feels that we need clear commitment on these priorities in action because, again, based on the information he saw, the issue of the corrosion levels being 12 times what is acceptable and 6 times higher than the threshold reading for severe is a problem with the leaching of these minerals into the water. And also the issue is, we know it's not the whole town that this is affecting. All right, we're well aware of that. We are not fear mongering, but we know there are pockets in this town that fall under this. And he believes, we believe, that those people in those pockets should be notified, because if these levels are that high, they certainly need to be using bottled water for drinking until you fix it with the caustic soda. And also, and you know this as an engineer, not only is that a problem, but cooking with it becomes a problem, because when you boil water, yes, it kills parasites and it kills bacteria. It does not take out copper and lead. So that's what I wanted to present. I thank you for disseminating this report, but these other points I think are important. And the suggestion would be that a letter should go to the homeowners that are in these areas from the town, telling them they need to use bottled water for cooking and for drinking, because that means that you're putting the safety of the residents first. They know about it. Many of them have little children. So that would be our stance. We completely agree with Rob Curto. We thank you for putting out that report. Okay, thank you.
Does anyone know what happened to the handheld microphone?
He's hiding it.
Thank you, Ms. Russo, and you are Ms. Russo. Yeah, did I get the name right?
You can call me Miss. You don't have to use the title.
Okay. Okay.
I called you Ashhoff, so that's fine. Call me.
Okay. Thank you for coming here and speaking your comments, and please convey my thanks to Mr. Curto
I will.
as well. I want to.
He wants this for the record, so you.
Okay,
yeah,
I will.
thank you.
I will take it. Thank you. And I want to address the cost first. We do have already an estimate of the cost. It's at the final pages of this report. Page 2 in one of the appendices. The total cost is estimated $133,000 and $133,000 thereabouts. And I'm happy to report that one way or the other, the funding is not going to be an issue. We have the funding for the implementation. The next step would be to get quotations from engineering firms on the actual system of implementation. And as a town, we can't just go ahead and alter the water chemistry for many residents. It needs to go through the state's Department of Health, and permitting is involved. And that can take time. Like I said, I won't name other municipalities going through the process, but I'm told it can take up to 8 months. And we have to be very careful with these things, because when we add sodium hydroxide, does it cause some other unintended consequences? So that's why we work through the experts. If we say, okay, we have this this corrosion study, and then we are going to do the implementation right away without going through the state, well, that's when people lose their licenses and you really get into serious trouble. So we have started the process of like, okay, what is the next step? And I'll also point out that this is a well-respected firm, and this study is done proper. Like, we don't want to go back and say, well, okay, we need more studies, or this thing didn't come out properly. And I also want to say something about what the study actually did. So on the cover page, you'll see a photograph, and the photograph is also there inside the study. So this tested for corrosion with and without sodium hydroxide for the water that is coming out of the pump station at the pump station. So when we say the corrosion levels are X times higher without sodium hydroxide, and adding sodium hydroxide brought it to these levels. I want to caution everybody that this refers to water samples running through at the plant, not in the home of anyone. Now, what is the implication of that to homeowners down the line? That's where we start talking about how much water comes from the city of Schenectady, etc. And BTW is talking about the city of Schenectady, and I'm not going to say too much on this recorded session. There are interesting results here that relates to their water. You know, if you read it as carefully as I have, I've read it 3 times. And there is some stuff here about the city of Schenectady water. So when we go through and talk about implementation, we will likely need to have conversations with the city of Schenectady as well. But the report is all of 2 weeks old, and it's summertime and people were on vacation. So one thing that is really important for me personally is openness and transparency. I won't name any names, but there were residents who wanted to have access to the report as soon as it came out. I actually took time out of my schedule on the day before I went for vacation to make sure those residents had a completely unmarked copy of the report. This is going to go on their website, but we will attach an FAQ document to provide the residents with some context. But you know, like I said, it's 2 weeks old. People are just coming back from vacation. So, but it's transparency and openness is something that's really important to me. Go ahead, please. You have a
All right,
microphone.
I just have, one comment to make. And thank you for your comments on the issue. Since you really don't know, though, you correct me if I'm wrong. You know that these high corrosion levels are coming from the water treatment plant. You don't know what homes are affected. You can't, are you saying that no homes in Niskayuna would fall under these high corrosion levels?
No, I'm not saying that.
All right, so you really don't know. So I guess going back to my initial point is, I think that's paramount that the town find out, and it's paramount that the town sends letters to those homes. Because Ashkoff, you're a scientist, you're an engineer. When you have high levels of lead and copper that could be leaching.
Ms. Russo, you used the L word, and I have to object. This is not about lead.
All right. All right.
Lead
No,
is
no, no, no.
way more dangerous.
No. But if you have corrosion in the pipes, it's high corrosion. It does leach those minerals into the water.
Not lead, though. Like, this is
All
not
right,
about lead.
all right.
I do
Well,
want
it
to clarify
leaches-
that for
all
the
right.
record.
It leaches into the water minerals that shouldn't be there at a high level. Okay. I still maintain that those homes should know, because you have children, pets drinking it, and some of those minerals that are at a high level can cause illnesses that are severe. That's all. Back to my point. I hope that they get letters, these homes, period, so they're notified. Thank you. I think she has something to
Yeah,
say.
thanks. Thank you. My name's Haney Santana, and I heard and I was told by several residents that there was an issue to find funding to fix the problem. And last night I sent an email to you and to also Erin to identify funding sources that's done by the state. So I hope that you got that can assist you in finding the money to fix the problem. Because nobody wants to hear that there's high corrosion. We may not understand what it means. Everyone's not a scientist, but when I hear as a parent and a grandparent, there's something wrong, there's high corrosion, I have no idea. I'm thinking something's going to happen to my grandkids, okay? And I'm not the expert when it comes to water, but I don't like the word corrosion and water coming into the house or pipes. So, I also think that the town should do an FAQ of what is potential harm or risk, I should say, of this type of corrosion. To say, well, you might have the blue-green algae, okay, or you might develop leaks, pinhole leaks in your plumbing. These types of information I think would be beneficial to all the residents so that they can understand the true magnitude, how it impacts them as a family, as a resident, because I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I'm not an engineer, and I just want to know that I live here, we pay taxes here, and I really don't want to think about there's something wrong with the water. And the town should understand that and not stand behind and say nothing's wrong, but there's something. Just tell us, just say, we got an issue, we're trying to fix the issue. This is how we're going to fix the issue. This is where the money's going to come to fix the issue. And I think everybody's adults to understand, okay, they're doing their best. They're trying to help us. They're trying to inform us. And I think that is very important to know that the town has our back. Because right now, I don't feel the town is looking out for the residents, okay? And that is very important because that's important to me. I don't know about anybody else, but I know from between the dog, the grandkids, the kids, I want them to be safe, okay? And the last thing I want to worry about is my water because I don't need to know also if I need to get one of those systems, those RO systems. Do I really need that? Do I need to go to have that expense to feel safe in my own home? So these are the things that are my concerns. I think the town should address those in whatever FAQ, however which way you decide, and be able to tell us up front, this is the issue. That's all we're looking for. We're just looking for you to come out and tell us what is actually going on, what's happening, because no one wants to be left in the dark, okay? No one wants to feel unsafe. Nobody does. And Natalie has all her businesses and her residents. Her residents don't want to feel unsafe, all right? Or anyone sitting at this table, or you, okay? Nobody wants to feel unsafe. So just letting us know, putting out that information, I think would be important to show that the town has the residents back, okay? That they're looking out for us. They're not delaying reports. They're not delaying putting it up online. We can make our own assumption, but I think the town should kind of take the lead and say, hey, this is what the report is. This is what it says, okay? It might be pockets, like you mentioned, but we want everybody to know these are the things you can look out for. These are some of the risks, blue-green algae, pinhole leaks in the plumbing or whatever else, but it's only really contained to a specific area. But we want everybody to know what is the remedy, and that's really it. We just want to know what's going on, okay? Everybody is a reasonable person, and we just want to know. Being kept in the dark, it's not good. People can think about whatever, their imagination can go, and if the town is not forthcoming, then you can't blame people for having those thoughts, and that's really it. I just wanted to say that when it comes to the funding, I sent an email to you of the information that I have that might be beneficial to the town and getting funding, maybe for infrastructure too. Like there's a whole list of stuff that the town can
There are
take
tons of
advantage.
grants.
Yeah, so that's our point of view. We want to see it resolved. Okay, and the time for finger pointing is long past because this is a public health issue. This is a public health issue for people, and I just want to see the town step up and take the lead and just be open and say these are the things that we're doing. This is, yes, the study is this, but this is what we're doing. This is where we have funding, and to stop people from saying, there's no money in the budget. You know, nobody wants to hear that, especially with our taxes going up and water fees going up. Nobody wants to hear that there's
We
no
heard
money.
that the money that was in the budget for caustic soda was used. But my last point on this is, I take water safety very seriously. I put in an $1,800 reverse osmosis system in my home for my kitchen. So, you know, I'm not just saying these things on the basis of, you know, we want to get people upset. No, I mean, I put it in my home. So you don't do that if you're not concerned about water safety. You don't spend $1,800.
Okay. You know, one thing I want to clarify as clear as I can. Sometimes when people talk to each other, messages get muddled.
True.
Funding to implement the caustic soda injection is not going to be an issue. I'm an engineer. I have a plan A in my head, and I have a plan B and a plan C if plan A doesn't work out. So I want to make that absolutely clear, in like as clear as I can. We will need to go through DOH. We may need to talk to the city. But funding for implementation, the $133,000 mentioned at the back of the report, is not going to be an issue. I'm not at liberty to share sources or anything like that right now, at least not yet. But I can assure everyone that this project is not going to be delayed because of a funding issue. And Ms. Santana, I saw your email last night. Thank you so much for sending it. What she's referring to is something called the oddly named Environmental Facilities Corporation, EFC. They fund, as she correctly pointed out, water and sewer infrastructure improvement grants. However, there is a bit of a hurdle there. My strength is grant writing. In my 6 years in this position, 6 months as a town board member, I have spent a lot of time on the EFC's website and talking to EFC people. You know what the issue is? Median income level. The gentleman here is nodding in comprehension. Most of their money has a median income threshold. I will get these numbers wrong, ballpark figures. Their threshold is something along $89,000. Niskayuna's median household income is significantly higher than $89,000. So unfortunately, we are automatically cut out of many EFC grants. Many, but not all. There are 1 or 2 doors you can still knock on. You have to have an engineering study commissioned, and you have to have your project listed. Mm-hmm. And there are deadlines for both of those things. There's something called CAT, Community Action Teams, mm-hmm. where you can go and request a private consultation. I intend to do that. But all of this is for future stuff like our wastewater treatment plant and replacing water mains and so on, not for the corrosion control study. The funding for the corrosion control study is there. Give me a month or so to fully be transparent about where the money is coming from. But for now, I want to reiterate that the funding is not going to be an issue.
It seems it's a small amount of money that you mentioned.
Mhm.
It was 131,000. Isn't there that amount of money in the unappropriated fund balance the town has that you can take out and use for this issue? I mean, that is not a large amount of money.
I agreed, and I want to go back to what I said and said that, like, you know, give us a little bit of time to be because if we can get money from another source and not touch the fund balance, we'd prefer that. So, so that's all I'm going to say for the moment on that topic. Mr. Eckel, or sorry, sir, forgot your name.
Dan Sexton. Hi, I'm Dan Sexton from Niskayuna, over on Orland Drive. And I've been here for since 2001. And back at the budget meeting, budget hearing back last fall, and at the water hearing, public hearing that we had on water rates, not the most recent one, but the one prior to that, I mentioned concern about exactly what you're after, what you've been talking about, Ashok here, which is the budget. In looking at the budget for this year, particularly in the water sewer area, we were already overspent, pulling down from reserves to get the budget balanced. Now, sitting around listening to the meeting that we had, and I haven't been to one of these meetings in a while, I'm sure they all fall about the same, item after item after item that I don't recall being in the budget to begin with. And so now we were already running a deficit. I'm sure things are getting a lot worse. I'd like to have an accounting of where we are and what's left in the reserve, what we think the rest of the year is going to look like. You were delayed 6 months in getting the new water rates put into place. That just made the problem worse. Now with these new water rates in place, I don't know that we're going to even keep up when we see the revenue come in back next March. So I'd like to see a very honest accounting of where we are. My concern is we're running out of money. We just got another $133,000 hit. Where's that money going to come from? You're going to let us know, but I don't think we have a money tree back there. Do we have a money tree back there? I don't think we have a money tree back there, but I think we're spending as if we do. So that's my big concern. I want to see this. I want to see where we're going with this. I want to see a plan, budget plan, and how we're going to get this back on track. I'm an engineer too, retired from GE with 40 years. So I understand that you run into things, you have to have contingency plans. I don't see we have contingency plans, particularly on the budget. So I'd like to see that get addressed. Thank you.
I can use this. I'll first thank you for coming here and providing your comments. The financial aspect is extremely important to me as well. Staying on the top of like revisiting the 133K for a minute, I can confirm that there is no money tree. But there are other grants and other sources besides what Ms. Santana mentioned. And if we can get funding from said sources, then we wouldn't need to touch into the reserve funds. So that's all I meant. We would try not to use the town's funds for this project and get money from external sources if we can. And I'll stop on that. And when I took office, one needs to prioritize. And the thing that was costing the town a lot of money and unwanted expenses was the wastewater treatment plant. And, you just saw me about a year ago have a lot of joy because the sludge dryer is working. We could potentially save, what is it Dan said, like $1,500 or $3,000 a week or something like that. And then you heard the word digester. The wastewater treatment plant was built to be a revenue positive for the town. We have bonds for that, by the way, that we are still paying off. So for me to prioritize, that's that's the one that needed most work and my attention. So as you heard, that is now coming to the fold. Now, the readiness to serve charge, the RTS model, is meant to give the town a lot of control. The supervisor and I, we have plans to replace a portion of the water mains every year so that these very expensive, time-consuming breaks are going to be eventually reduced. Now, I want to be very, very clear. This could very well mean that we could see further increases in water rates. And like a few billing cycles ago, the rates were artificially low. And we most likely will not be going to that. It is not news that anyone wants to hear. And I just 10 minutes ago said that I want to be open and transparent. If this is what it takes to have a better future Niskayuna in terms of fewer water main breaks and such, and I had just explained why we are cut out of many of the funding opportunities that are available to lower income municipalities. If that's what it takes to have proper functioning water infrastructure, then that's what we need to do.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And this is the point that I brought up in those previous two meetings I said that I attended, which is, are the water rates still artificially low? And are we, and now, because we have delayed the implementation of the new water rates, people are not going to see that in this next billing cycle. They'll see that next year. They'll see that after they have an opportunity to give people the feedback during the election in November.
That's right.
And so what effectively is done is you kick the can down the road another 6 months. And this is what's disturbing me.
I'm very sorry. I lost the timeline there. Like, can you please go back and explain slowly about the 6
Okay.
months and the election?
So
Are you talking about the 2025 election or the upcoming
Both.
midterm 2026 election?
both. So
Okay.
what happens is, as you know, we have a consumption cycle, and then we have a billing cycle. The billing cycle is delayed from the consumption cycle because it takes you some time to put all the information together to be able to get the bills out. Now, the billing, the billing from January to June,
2025?
well, both years, it doesn't matter. That's independent. It works the same way every year. It's always delayed.
Well, you mentioned the election, so that's why I'm trying to get some
Yeah, so
clarity
let
on-
me go through the timeline.
Okay.
All right. The new billing rates aren't occurring until July 1st of this year, right? So the bill for that won't be sent out until actually March of next year, right? So it falls behind the election for this year. So people won't see the new rates by the time they have to vote. They'll see that next year. That was the point I was trying to make.
We made the decision to when to start the new RTS paradigm based on public hearings and going into an entirely new billing paradigm takes a lot of effort, and it needs to be done slowly. We encountered some issues that we hadn't thought about, like a dual use meter. How should nonprofits be treated separately from businesses? So we had to go through a lot of the things before the new paradigm is set. I don't believe that the timing of the election was a factor for us in deciding when we started it's a complex process, and we wanted to make sure we dotted all the I's and cross all the T's.
I'm not insinuating that it was. I'm just saying what happened, what the end result is.
Okay.
However it happened,
Okay.
the end result is that the public who are not paying attention, the majority of the public's not paying attention, won't basically see the result until next year because of the delay in the process. And so we don't really get any feedback from the public until they actually see that. They actually have to write that check. So that's where I was headed with that.
Thank you.
And my concern is that even where we are right now, and even with the new rates, and you just mentioned it, rates are going to go up.
Might
go. Yes, I should say might go up. Based on everything that I said, the probability is very high.
I'm not going to comment on that, sir, because when you shift the paradigm, you really need to look at the numbers. What I can say is that the new rate structure gives us the flexibility to go to a point where the input and the output are equal in the system.
The new rate structure, the way it has been codified, gives you the flexibility to change the rates much easier than in the past.
Yes.
And I believe you corrected some of the issues with that I had brought out,
Yes. And
particularly.
it took a lot of effort, as you know.
Yeah, particularly in the way the rates were supposed to be set for sewer system 6, which was weird, but beside the point. But anyway, so I'm glad that you acknowledge the fact that we've got some financial issues to deal with, and that there is the potential for the rates to go up. We need to communicate that to the public so that they understand and they can prepare for that. People can make financial decisions in their own budgeting, on home budgeting, to be able to address that, because water is expensive. Water is getting expensive for us. And if we have issues like copper issues that cause homeowners to have to put in filtration systems or water purification systems like RO systems. RO systems are very water intensive, as you know, you should know anyway. And that's going to raise their water bill even more.
Yes.
Plus the cost of the RO system and its maintenance, the filters and the stuff, the chemicals that you have to put in to make this stuff work. So it's ending up being a very expensive process for homeowners. A lot of us, those that can afford to deal with this, it's not as big an issue, but there are a lot of people in this town who are below that 89,000 that it is a big issue for, and they're struggling.
Okay, thank you. But I don't leave meetings without an action item. So could you remind me your name one more time? Mr. Sexton. So you would wanted to see a clear accounting of like how much revenue we are bringing into the water, and then like what the expenses are.
And where we are planned to date with the 2025, with the budget that was put out for 2026.
Okay. Janet, with the crystal reports and such, I should be able to mine that information for Mr. Sexton, right?
That should be a FOIL, right? Or can he share a crystal report? Yeah, the crystal report's not going to give you the detail though. It's just
Okay.
going to give you like starter budget, amended budget, the total expenses, total revenues, and an end.
What about, it did have line items for the water treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant. Can I share that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Elena, would it be okay? So let me get some information to you, and then you look at it and say, okay, this is sufficient, or I want more.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Would a 2-week time frame be sufficient? Okay. All right. I'll get that. Yep.
Okay, good morning. I'm Joseph Yekel, 914 Roman. So I wasn't planning on commenting much about what you and Dan were just speaking about with respect to the water rates, but since that was brought up, I do want to add a comment to that. I agree with what Dan said in the conversation between you two, but as I spoke at the public comments on the change to the water rate system, and I spoke for about 7 minutes. Believe I was the only one at the public hearing that spoke about this issue. I took contention with the fact that the town essentially instituted a bait and switch move with the RTS rates. There was significant changes made to the rates, not only for the RTS fee, but the water and sewer fees. And those new rates were only introduced prior to the public hearing. And I had said at that point in time that under the presented rates that the town had been using since September 2025 with the calculator on the website, people could compare their current rates that they're paying now under the current system for the last 5 or 6 billing cycles to what the new RTS rate would be. Only that's not what happened at the public hearing. At the public hearing, the town resubstituted new RTS rates in for water and sewer. And of course, anyone that would do a recalculation on the town website wouldn't see what they would actually be paying. So my bill, instead of being about even to what I'm paying right now, which I believe is high, would be about $50 more as an average user. And the reason why that problem occurred is because the town did not use the 2026 budget information. They were using old information. So I have an issue with that because the town was fully aware since last year what the 2026 budget was. In fact, you do a 5-year budget look. And to the point that Dan was just talking about, that the town has flexibility, and you spoke about as well, Ashok, yes, the town does have additional flexibility with the new rate design. However, if the water and sewer budget is going to continue on an upward trajectory, the rate design is going to have to be adjusted at least once a year, and it's going to be in an upward direction, because short of the money tree somehow arriving on scene or massive amounts of money coming in through grants that the town doesn't have to dip into its own fund, the only way to cover the revenue requirement in the town budget is to raise the rates. So yes, there is added flexibility, but the added flexibility is going to be in an upward direction. I'll be hard pressed to see the town reduce the rates because the town does not reduce its budget. Now, when we talk about the cost that Dan mentioned a minute ago, most of the things that were talked about here were not in the budget. I did have some things that I was looking at and thinking about when this meeting was going on. So, 2 things came up during the conversation: that there's a vacuum truck that's under repair that may be fixed next week. Also, the camera in one of the other sewer trucks is faulty. That needs to be repaired. We spent recently somewhere, I don't remember the exact number, between $500,000 and $700,000 on a new vacuum truck. What wasn't stated during the report out here was whether or not this is the new vacuum truck that has the problem or the other truck that's got the camera. That's concerning to me because no cost for these repairs was stated during this meeting, and I don't know if this is on the new truck or not. So the question arises, if we're buying new equipment and we're having problems with it, did we get a proper guarantee or warranty with it? So, and you don't need to answer that one now, Ashok, but okay.
2018.
Okay.
I tried to do the warranty and I tried to do an insurance claim. Unfortunately,
Nothing.
it's regular wear and tear as far as everybody was concerned.
Okay.
Repair is somewhere between 54 and 56,000, I believe.
Yeah, so that's a huge amount of money. And I guess to me, this is another one of those things when we think about budgeting in the general sense, we know that we don't always have the blue sky days. As a regulator, we always talked about utility regulation with blue sky days and gray sky days. When everything is working perfectly and a company is operating at peak performance, it's a blue sky day, nothing goes wrong. Except for you can't run a business successfully that way, and you can't run a municipality successfully that way because there are going to be unintended problems that arise. So at all these meetings every month, we always hear about repairs that probably weren't included in the budget. And so when the budget process is going on, you've got to think about those contingencies that possibly in August, we're going to have a failure that's going to cost us $50,000 that we don't currently have allocated. And that's what I think about when I hear about all these monthly repairs that were unexpected that are occurring, and we don't have endless amounts of money. I, you know, didn't hear what the cost is going to be for the update to the Neptune software. There's a new version. And again, I'm not going to get the numbers exactly right, but over the past 3 or 4 years, we did a complete Neptune meter replacement that was, I believe, about $1 million, maybe over $1 million. So my question with regard to this software is, what was the cost of that? And if there was any support included in the new purchase of all the products, because it was a multi-year replacement process. So hearing that there's a new software and the old software is not going to be supported, it also raises a financial concern and an operational concern that we're on the hook to purchase that new software with meters that we just recently purchased for significant amounts of taxpayer dollars. I had a question about the Rosendale Road water main work. Understand that has to be raised because of the ground level being increased. I don't know if the town has contemplated exploring joint trench work yet. Since the county is going to be doing some of this work, whether or not there's electric, gas, other utilities that are going to be in the ground. But again, when you're doing this type of underground work, you're always trying to seek efficiencies where you can be. So if National Grid has any facilities or Verizon has facilities in the ground, typically what you want to do is open up the hole one time, have all the facilities providers do their work. There's cost sharing that's involved there, and that's through the county. The town and the county are required to use Dig Safely New York, and they have to submit a request whenever they want to put a backhoe trench into the earth. They send a note out to all the municipalities, all the utilities in the area, so that they're on notice, so that you don't put a backhoe into somebody else's facilities. But there's cost savings involved there whenever you're going to be opening up the ground if joint trenches involving other utilities. So I'm not sure if that's been explored or looked at, but I hope you do look into that. I had a question about the copper testing that was done. And as Dan had mentioned, you're required to do 60 tests twice a year. That's the minimum. And Dan mentioned that you're looking at the tier 1 locations, which are the most important locations. But I've said this for probably 2 years now. The minimum amount of testing, and by the way, the town has gone from the abbreviated testing, which was 30 times a year, twice per year, to 60 because of the problems with the copper results. So that's a new change, going to the 60 tests twice a year. However, Dan had mentioned if somebody doesn't get a signature on the paperwork, for lots of different reasons, that test will basically be nixed. It doesn't count. And you've got to hit 60 required test minimum. So, a good area to look at avoiding that pitfall of not having enough tests done is always test in excess, on the order of 10 to 15% of the required tests. So the town should be looking at doing anywhere about 10 or more extra tests every testing period, not just the 60. And I would also call your attention to the map that is floating around here with the copper testing. I have foiled all the copper testing data since 2024, and I have my own map. The difference between my map and the map that's there is that my map shows all the locations in the town that have failed. And when you look at all the locations in the town that have failed, what you can see are the hot spots where there have been high copper levels notated. And my point to Dan in the past has been, testing tier 1 locations is required and necessary, but additional testing beyond the tier 1 locations is also not only important, but you're not doing yourselves any favor if you're not testing them. When you find a hot spot in a town, even if it's not a tier 1 location, you should conduct testing in that area. That can tell you a lot of things that tier 1 testing is not going to tell you when your tests come up clean. So when I look at my map of the town of Niskayuna, I see hot spots in 3 or 4 or 5 different locations. And if you're not doing testing there because it's not a tier 1 location, you're really avoiding digging deeper into that area to say, why are we seeing high copper levels here? Is it just the homeowner's copper line, or is there something else happening out in the distribution or transportation network that we need to take a little closer look at? So I think the testing needs to be increased beyond the minimum 60. And I think that since the town has the foil, you have the information of all the copper results, your map can show the same thing that mine does, where some of these other areas of the town are where there's higher incidence of copper testing failures. So that would be something I would recommend that you do. And the other thing that I wanted to mention with, and I haven't read the proposed code for the leaf blowers. I will do that. But I feel that this is an issue, me speaking personally, this is a solution in search of a problem. I don't like the idea at all of the town putting any type of parameters on residents within this town, telling them when and how they can operate their leaf blowers. I don't want the town telling me when I can run my lawnmower. I sat at home for a little bit, and on this particular issue, I went through the time of year. How often do I use my leaf blower? I use my leaf blower a few times in the spring, and I use it a few times in the fall. I mainly use it to clean up my leaves. And when I use it, I use my leaf blower for maybe an hour to an hour and a half at a time. I probably use my leaf blower less than 20 hours a year. I use my lawnmower about, every other close to a week or a little bit more, and I run that, and that takes me about an hour and a half to use my my lawnmower. It's a riding mower. My riding mower is far louder decibel-wise level than my leaf blower is. I think that there's a disconnect between the town not being held to a standard that it's trying to impose on its residents. I don't want to see residents put in a position where they either have to buy a new leaf blower, hire a contractor, or not blow their leaves or use a leaf blower for the regular maintenance around their home because it does not comply with the town code. We're a small town, 23,000 people. We don't need additional regulation on the books. We already have a noise ordinance that's involved with the town. We also have parameters around that. So, there's people not supposed to be doing construction on a roof at 5 o'clock in the morning, nor are people supposed to be partying and having excessive amounts of noise at midnight. So we have parameters like that already in the town, and I do not want to see the town getting itself involved in the restriction of people's use of their maintenance equipment at home and potentially costing a lot more money to replace things, especially when the town isn't abiding by this type of a code. When I first heard that the town was thinking about this type of a code restriction, sort of like what Natalie spoke about with the right of first refusal, absolutely not. The town doesn't need to be telling me when I should be using a leaf blower. I've lived here for more than 2 decades. I know that my neighbors, I have a fairly good sized lawn. It's almost 3/4 of an acre. A lot of my neighbors have sizable lawns as well. But even if you don't have a sizable lawn, the fact that somebody's telling you that now you may not be able to use your leaf blower, or where does it end? Does it go to a lawnmower? I just don't think that we need to get into that. There are far more important things in this town that need to be addressed than worrying about somebody's leaf blower on a Saturday afternoon or mid-morning on a Sunday. To me, that's going after an issue that really is not germane to the important basics of running a town, like maintaining the finances, having safe streets, having a community that can conduct its business and go about its business in such a way that they feel good about the town and the community. And I don't like the fact that I even have to have a conversation about something like this being introduced to town code, because I think it's completely unnecessary and unreasonable. I have not had an issue with my neighbors with things like this for the entire time I've lived here. And if a person does have an issue with their neighbor, they should first approach their neighbor, but the town shouldn't be getting involved in whether or not we should be restricting leaf blowers, lawnmowers, or anything else. I did want to know about the causality for the River Road water main break. And has this particular area been repaired before? And the reason why I bring this up, again, I'm going to tie this back to the conversation you just had with Dan a moment ago about water rates going up and costs of, doing business going up. One thing that hasn't been talked about is proper maintenance or improper maintenance or lack thereof in previous years. And I know because I've foiled every one of these water break reports for the last 6 or 7 years, and I've mapped every single break out. So it was almost a rhetorical question asking you about River Road if it's been damaged before. Of course it has. Multiple times there's been areas that have been broken or corroded and then repaired. And you have to ask yourself a question, why do these things happen? And if part of the answer is the reason why they happen because there wasn't proper maintenance done on the system, and forget about frost heaves or shears happening because of other activity going on. If the network's not being maintained properly, there's going to be a cost to pay. And there's also a cost benefit analysis that must always be conducted, especially when you're looking at areas that have been damaged over and over and over again. I've run deep analysis on the number of man hours that are typically involved in these repairs, the number of crews that are involved in these repairs year over year over year. And it's very, very expensive, as you know. So, we can't just kind of brush off the fact that water is artificially low, what people are paying in their bill because prices are just going up and up and up. A lot of this can also go back to if the network had been maintained properly to begin with, and that's putting the right chemicals into the system so that you don't have internal corrosion that is damaging the integrity of the facility itself, which leads to premature deterioration and breakage. We avoid some of these types of problems, and that has to be part of the town's response.
Mr. Akel, I'm going to interrupt for 1 minute here and clarify something.
Mm-hmm.
The results from the corrosion control study are not transferable to water main breaks. I'm going to respectfully and firmly disagree that corrosion control and the inclusion of sodium hydroxide or not has any impact on the water main breaks we are seeing. Those are uncorrelated items. We are not talking about structural integrity of the town's water mains here with the corrosion control study. I want to say that for the record.
Did the study state that there's no connection between a high level of corrosion and that it could affect the underground piping? Did they come out and say that?
In my opinion, it could be inferred from the report if you look at the what they are doing with the steel pipes, steel coupons, which is used as a control for the copper. Like this is about like corrosion of copper lines. I do not believe it has a correlation to the structural integrity of the town's much larger mains that is going through River Road and Rosendale. I'm not.
You can't say definitely though. Are you saying it absolutely doesn't have any correlation?
In this life, there's no such thing as a 100% certainty, but I am willing to say that this is about the homeowners' lateral lines, and bear in mind that there's no copper from the source; it's copper from the lateral lines that's getting into the water. So this does not have a bearing on the structural integrity of the town's water lines. I want to make that clear. I'll say that with a fair amount of confidence without putting numbers and parameters on it.
Okay, I appreciate that, but if you interpreted me saying that had anything to do with that corrosion study, that's not what I said.
Okay.
What I'm saying is over time, when you do not properly maintain the network, And if you are doing things at the water treatment plant or not doing things at the water treatment plant, in the aggregate, as plant ages, if it's not maintained properly, it fails, and it oftentimes will fail prematurely. So those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. And I do believe that there are water main break reports that specifically speak to corrosion as being a source of the breakage. It's not just shears, it's not frost heaves, it's not from compression. When you have things like water leaks, which erode the soil around a pipe and then leave it in basically an open space, that's what leads to things like breakage. So when you're not maintaining the network, like if you have lost water and you're trying to track down the source of it, but you're not doing that, and you've got leakage that's occurring in mains day after day, month after month, year after year, that's undermining the soil, that's what leads to a lot of these water main breaks. This is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, that you can't just kind of discard it and say, well, we have another water main break and these things happen. Well, these things do happen, but they happen for reasons, and that's why causality is so important.
So at least some of this is attributable to aging infrastructure. I hear your point about routine maintenance. I also want to respectfully say that, like all over the Northeast, we are hardly the only municipality to have water main breaks on a regular basis. And like I said before, the supervisor and I have plans to replace segments of our water mains. And we just got a major grant from the Environmental Development something to replace the section between Knowles Atomic Power Lab and the GE Research Center. So, at least some of it is attributable to older, aging infrastructure that's not unique to Niskayuna.
Yep, and thank you. I agree with that as well. But I know we have seen historically some breaks happening in town on plant that's been replaced, and it's suffered another break. So there's something else going on other than the vintage of the infrastructure. So those are the main things. I did put a FOIL request in for the copper testing, but as I heard at the meeting today, results just came back. So I'll update that so that I can get those additional results.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. The question is about the study, okay? And it also has to do with the EPA. Has this been sent to the EPA yet? What is the current status of the EPA and the contact between the town? Okay, just in general information. Let's see what else. And the leaf blower thing, I have to agree. That's something that the town should not even be involved with. Because we're going to clean our lawn, we're going to maintain our property, and really, honestly, the town shouldn't tell us when and what season that we can use a leaf blower. But just getting back to the EPA, just wanted to know what was the status on that, and what has the town provided or is waiting to be submitted, or what has been received.
I just want to end with this. I don't want to hold anybody up, but again,
I just want to say that, my calendar is
Yeah,
clear
but
until 1 o'clock.
I think, no, yeah. So no, I just want to ask this one question. When I asked you about the money for the caustic soda, all right, it's either yes or no. Was it in the budget but used for something else? Yes, or it was never in the budget? That's a simple budgetary answer.
Okay, I can provide a simple budgetary answer to your question. It is in the budget. It was never used for anything else.
Then why are you looking for grants if it's in the budget? I mean, if you've got the $131,000 in the budget for the caustic soda to be put in, why are you looking for grants? It's there.
As Mr. Yekel said,
But I mean, it's there then. And that's my question. If then you shouldn't have to look for grants. Secondly, my other question is this. when I'm leaving this meeting, I still have a question about the corrosive study. You said the problem is at the water plant. Is it yes or no? Is it affecting homes, or do you not know that?
Could you clarify the first part of your question when you said the problem is at
I thought you
the-
said that the problem with the high corrosion was localized at the water treatment plant. The results that came out of there showed this 12 times higher, 6 times above the severe mark. All right, if it's there, do you know for sure that it doesn't affect any homes?
I want to go back to what is in the report. And like I said, there are copies available. And if anyone wants a copy, I'll run up to the copy machine and make the copy. So it was a specific experiment done by a well-respected engineering firm that tested the water from the aquifer at the water treatment plant on Lock 7 Road. It was a control group and a testing group. The control group did not get any sodium hydroxide treatment. The testing group got sodium hydroxide treatment. Various metal things, they're called coupons, were weighed and analyzed and so on. So the water testing was done at the water treatment plant. Now, how does those results impact homeowners down the line? Like that's where we presented the testing results. We had a nice discussion about how to make the information available. Like I can say that this whole thing will be made available without any redaction. So all I was doing was just emphasizing that the report talks about a specific experiment done with water at our water treatment plant.
Okay, so we don't really know the implication as far as it translates into the water in the homes. My last point is I agree about green areas. Okay. I grew up in the city though, and none of us were sick. We were very healthy. And as you know, in the city, there's not a lot of green areas. My one concern is this. You talked about high water bills coming out. You talked about, taxes could go up because all of this infrastructure repairs that may be needed.
Bills, not, I mentioned bills.
Bills,
not
okay.
Taxes.
All right. Well, it's going to affect taxes. My question is this, or my concern is this. We're a bedroom community. We don't have a lot of commerce here, business. The taxes are mainly paid by the private homeowner. We do need to build here. If we have to use green space in order to make this sustainable for people to live here, okay, not just people that are making 6 figures, then we have to be reasonable about how much green space. My last comment is you talked about trees. Go down Balltown Road. Look at those trees hanging over. Some of them are dead. Quite a few are dead. You get a nice storm, you get a heavy wind, it's going to come down on cars and people are going to get killed. So before we start talking about all this green space, let's take care of what we have and that we're not attending to. Just the trees on Balltown Road are dangerous. That's all. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
thank you for coming and providing input. I want to address a little bit on at the very end about the green space and the gas-powered leaf blowers issue. As Mr. Ekel mentioned, there are 23,000 residents in the town, and we wouldn't be here talking about this issue, if other residents out of those 23,000 didn't approach us and talked about their concerns about emissions and noise from gas-powered leaf blowers. As elected officials, we have to listen to everyone that brings concerns to us. So I want to assure everyone that it's not my pet project that I pulled out or anything like that. It's come to this level because we are hearing from residents who are very upset, and they are seeing examples on other communities that have enacted legislation. And I get it. This is about compromises. No one's passing any legislation yet. At this stage, all we are talking about is a public hearing.
And I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. But I live in a suburban neighborhood. I have a neighbor across the way that has chicken coops. I'm now dealing with your building inspector. I can smell it in my yard, can't go in the yard. Hey, that's an environmental issue. Okay. And I know now we can have chicken coops in Niskayuna. I have a contractor that does my lawn. I don't want him dictated when he can use his leaf blower. I'm paying a lot of money to have property management. And I know you're going to get people that are going to complain about that. How many? 90% of the residents in Niskayuna are complaining about the sound of leaf blowers? Or is it the 10% that came to you? I think you have to look at it. How many in the town have called you and demanded that residents stop using leaf blowers? Now, if you tell me 90% in this town, you know what I would say?
I never said 90%.
Okay, well, my point is, if it's not 90%, then it's not an issue. I mean, 10% can't dictate what 90%
And it's
does.
not 10% either.
Well, 5%. But it can't be the majority of people, because I'm telling you, I've never heard anybody in my neighborhood or in my district complain about leaf blowers.
Thank you for your input. Does anyone
I just want
else?
to know about the EPA.
Oh, yes. I can confirm that the report, without any reductions, has been sent to the EPA.
And what's the current status of that involvement?
Can I get back to you on that? There's a little bit of moving parts on that. Well, I wouldn't say it, but if it's obvious, then yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For your time.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to go over this study thoroughly. I've just having first seen it today, but I'd like to ask you to go back and reconsider one of the things you might have said, which is that the corrosion study has indicated that there's no issue at all with the corrosion in the steel pipes. I can see right here that, yeah, the steel pipes are corroding. Now, is that a health hazard? MPY, I'm not sure what that stands for when they have a corrosion rate MP. It's probably something per year. But it is showing that the steel pipes are corroding. They're corroding more without the pH control than they are with the pH control. Now, if this is just a health rating, as far as a concern is concerned, and they do have rates at which high, good, fair, poor in this report. But again, is that relative to health, or is that relative to the structural integrity of the pipes over time? So I'd ask you to go back. You're an engineer. You're, I believe, a mechanical engineer, correct? Okay, I'm an electrical engineer, so a little bit different. But we all have the same background. Go back and understand what that means. And again, there's pitting analysis here, more pitting without corrosion than there is with corrosion. without protection, pH balance, and with versus with. Go back and see, predict based on these numbers, and you've got it right here. Based on these numbers, how long do you start to get a structural breakdown where the structural material, the stress related in the steel, no longer has the thickness to be able to maintain the pressure in the pipes. And I understand as well, over time, we've had overpressure issues in the system as well. That may be a whole nother category of things that need to be addressed to protect the integrity of the infrastructure.
I'm happy to go back and take a careful look from the structural integrity standpoint.
Thank you.
You know, I forgot.
Take this one right here.
Yeah, you can take this.
Ashok
Take
gave
that.
me
Take
that one,
that.
but you can keep that.
Yeah.
I'll pull it down off the web.
It's not yet there on the web.
Well, when it's okay, when it's available, I'll grab it.
And
Oh, no, you can have it.
It's okay. That's all right. Keep it.
the other thing I would like to go back and talk, I hate to do this because I don't think it's really an issue, as Joe had mentioned. I don't think it's an issue we should be talking about, but the leaf blower issue. Yeah, I mean, my neighbor, aside from who lived beside me prior to the neighbor that is there now, would come out with his lawn tractor, big lawn tractor, at 6 o'clock in the evening on a summer evening, and we're trying to sit out on the porch and have a nice glass of wine and enjoy the evening and the birds and everything else we've got in Niskayuna. And it was annoying, but I would never approach it from the standpoint of saying, okay, you can't use your lawn tractor, or you can't, he used a leaf blower, the same thing. You can't use your leaf blower. I would approach it from the standpoint of, we have noise ordinance in place. Are you violating the noise ordinance? Because that's really what people are worried about, not the fact that if I had a quiet leaf blower, if I had a gas powered leaf blower that had a good muffler on it, it wouldn't be an issue with these people who are complaining about the noise.
There is a very, I'm a scientist, right? Like, I make decisions based on science. It's not opinion. The emissions from gas powered leaf blowers are extremely toxic. That is known. It is a known health hazard. And towards the end of the meeting, permit me to say this, please. I'm an immigrant to this country, and a lot of the people used by contracting companies with these gas-powered leaf blowers are immigrants. And I have seen them with my own eyes, people who don't speak English, they don't even have ear protection on. And they have them on their back with those leaf things, and they're breathing that stuff. And for me, that is improperly utilizing a vulnerable community. So it's not just the noise. And I can show you the published scientific literature. The emissions are extremely toxic. It's a two-stroke engine.
I understand fully. I mean, I know what's.
So as far as being an immigrant, you're being a minority, speaking English or simply not speaking English. That's why there are OSHA laws. That's why there is the laws in the book to protect those individuals. So for me, I don't see it as they're being taken advantage of, when they can be taken advantage of a Black person born here or a white guy that was born here. It's not just that they're immigrants. There is OSHA laws that would protect. And I want to say this. I had a couple of years back a big break in front of my driveway. The pipe was almost 40 feet down. They dug up half of my driveway, half of my lawn to get to this pipe. Now, the contractor that was hired by the town, okay, they were taking pictures up on their big excavators or whatever it is when they were digging. Now, guess what? They didn't have the proper boarding, like you put wood against the dirt so it doesn't collapse, okay? They didn't have that. Guess what? OSHA took them because they posted on Facebook how they're doing this big job for Niskiuna, and they're showing that they don't even have the proper safety things in place to protect their own employees, regardless of the color. Okay, regardless of whether they didn't do it. I had to go to court to testify because I took pictures of the entire dig. They were there. I can't tell you how many weeks they were there. And they parked on my lawn, the contractors. They drove their big those little skits or whatever they call it onto my driveway. They bent the water pipe going into my house. Okay, so when the town comes to try to open it, oh, it's bent. You have to fix it. Why do I have to fix it? You guys had a piece of equipment, heavy equipment that was on my lawn. I don't drive on my lawn. I park in a driveway. But I can tell you about the horror stories of what happened. Okay, they went 40 feet down to get this pipe. Okay. And Matt Yetto was there at the time. And the pipe kept breaking down the road. On my road, it broke in another part. And they dug up the street a few houses down. So it's I have to say this. My family came from Cuba. I know what communism is. I was born here. But I understand communism. I understand about being an immigrant. My father was. Okay. My cousins that are still coming over legally. You know, they learn to speak English, you know, but it's not always this doom and gloom that people are being taken advantage of. There's laws to protect everybody in this country. I love this country. And OSHA came in and took care of those people that were put at risk during the dig, those employees. Okay, so that's what I just have to say, because when it comes to talking about immigrants, minorities, I'm vocal, because my mother's family, they came from Africa. I trace my DNA. Slaves. I'm a descendant of slaves. So I know about all of these things, people picking people up at Home Depot to do manual labor. I understand that, but there's laws in place.
The companies should be penalized for misusing people and endangering their health. Residents shouldn't have to suffer a ban because of a few people that are doing these things.
Right.
And I believe in personal freedom.
And I think what you've just done, Ashok, and I'm not very happy with it. I think what you've just done is you've deflected. You're saying now your concern is the people who are the people who are working for the contractors who have no protection. And what you want to do to correct that is to say, well, everybody can't use their leaf blower. That's not addressing your concern.
No.
You need to address your concern. If your concern is about those people, put a regulation in place that says no contractor can hire a person without the proper safety protections for their breathing, for their ears, for everything else. That's what you need to do.
I just mentioned that as an aside. Please don't.
No,
read too much
you
into
were
it.
very passionate about that. So I disagree with what you're telling me.
I would.
Those
It-
companies should be taken to task, not the residents.
I will reiterate that we are having this conversation because of feedback that we have received from other residents.
And that's fine. And we have ordinance in place. We have sound. They're worried about the sound. And if that's their concern, we have ordinance in place to address that. And all we have to do is enforce them. It's difficult to enforce. It's difficult to prove.
And again, respectfully, like we have had concerns from residents that the existing noise
How many?
enough to bring to this
I know,
level.
but how much is enough? I mean, can't you say we had 20, 30, 40? I mean, you've got to know the number of people contacting you.
And again, all we are saying is we will have a public hearing to hear from both sides of
So
the
what are
aisle.
the concerns that they've brought to you? Noise?
Would it be okay to have this discussion one-on-one? And Elena said she needs to go.
I'm gonna wrap up. I'm gonna wrap up also, but this is my overarching concern now, Ashok, and I respect you tremendously.
Mhm.
But if you're unwilling to be transparent in a conversation like this, to say to somebody like Linda Rizzo, I heard from 16 people, 9 of them said that they're concerned about noise, and 7 of them don't like their neighbor because he's at this all the time. I can tell you that nobody is using a leaf blower. Let's just use that example just for a minute, and then I'm going to be off this. Nobody's using a leaf blower in the town of Niskayuna that wasn't purchased from a valid vendor like Troy-Bilt or Murray or somebody else. And all of those leaf blowers are safe to use. There are no restrictions on their use in terms of people have to wear a mask. They don't even say that you are required to use hearing protection. You may use hearing protection, but you're talking a few moments ago about, people being taken advantage of, and they're using a backpack leaf blower and they're inhaling this. Guess what? Everybody that uses a backpack leaf blower is inhaling the exhaust in some amount, whether they're a contract worker, a town worker, or a resident like me. That is a non-issue. It's a non-issue. There is no business in the United States selling a legitimate product that is detrimental to your health, that they give you a warning that says this is going to cause cancer or anything else. So I'm not buying that, and I'm really disappointed to having heard that as part of this discussion. I think people just need to be told right up front. We heard from 15 people around the town, and they don't like leaf blowers. They're noisy. And now we want to think about changing the town code.
Mr. Yekel, this is a CAC initiative, like the Conservation Advisory Council. So
Again, and again, are we looking for a solution for a non-existent problem? Because the town's got a lot more important things to be working on than whether or not somebody's leaf blower is a little bit too noisy.
We're going to have a public hearing on this as a resident, as a taxpayer who's paying a lot of taxes, as everyone at this table is. I want to know the number of people that complain. I want an exact number. I don't like this evasive, well, people are coming. I want to know the exact number, because we should not be governed by the few who meet certain people's ideologies. We want to have the majority govern. That's my stand. So if you have a public hearing, I'm coming, and I want to know the number.
thank you for that perspective.
Just one more thing, just off of the record, no. I want to talk about the property taxes. This is as a suggestion to you. Why don't we make the property
I need to
taxes
get your email address.
quarterly? Why can't we have quarterly instead of once a year? That's something I just wanted to mention to you, that many people, seniors.
My brain's getting a little fried. Wait, did you